Welcome to Karaoke Wine with Jules and Tessa.
Hello. Hello. Welcome to Karaoke Wine. Before we get started, yes. Cheers. You guys are probably wondering why we're not drinking out of a wine glass today, but this will be airing on or around Tessa's birthday. So this is it's my birthday, bitches. So we're doing a celebratory podcast. Yes. And it's really funny that this is happening because this is her topic. I literally, when she told me we were doing this topic, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say. So I had to do some research. So she's going to take the reins and I'm going to just interject whenever I feel it's appropriate. So interesting that on my birthday, I am going to be doing the majority of the talking. So unlike me. Yes. Very excited. And I'm going to cut you off whenever that's appropriate. And I'm probably going to go on some rants. Maybe I'll cut you off today and you'll go on rants. Bring it. Who knows? If I have a rant, that's going to be very shocking because I literally don't know when I'm going to stay on this podcast. So really what brought this to light is everyone knows I'm in therapy and I've been working on DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. And for me, I like to call it diabolical behavior therapy because it just fits me more. But there's this idea of chemistry versus connection, right? And really what this meant to me as I was going through my, last year's relationships, we all know about Eunuch, the Lobbyist, and Southern Charm. Talking about you, Eunuch. They all had something in common. And what was in common is I kept holding on to the chemistry phase, even though we were past that, making myself think that it was connection. And I'll take it a step further here. When I originally started dating Eunuch, it was great. Like the first couple of weeks was amazing. Unfortunately, it was the whole when you know moment. And for the 8 months that we dated, I kept going back to the original 3 weeks, trying to bring that into a connection where it really truly was just chemistry. It was something new. It was something fun. And I probably could have ended it a lot sooner. And I knew in my gut that it was wrong, but I changed everything else in my life instead, thinking that this person was really meant for me. Yeah, so you were like holding on to that feeling. Yes. First, everything is great feeling. And through time, that feeling obviously dissipated. And you're holding on to it thinking that you had a connection, but you didn't. 100%. Because I was in this place of not really knowing who I was or knew who I was, but was a very transitional phase for me. And I had just moved to Florida and I didn't really have a plan for the first time in my life. And then when I met him, I wanted to make it my plan. Like, this is why. I wanted the reason behind the move. I wanted the reason behind why I was so lost. And it wasn't about that. And I think even with the Lobbyist, we did something very similar when we first met, like just jumped in and it dissipated, obviously. And then the same thing with Southern Charm, right? Like I was like so up in my head and thinking like, these 3 men, FYI, told me I was the one for them. Sure. Well, they were mistaken. Because they weren't the one for me. Yeah. I think because, and I listened when we were going over this topic, I thought, well, I didn't really have a lot to say about it because I am a very big chemistry person. For me, if the chemistry is not there, whether it be mental or sexual, then I just kind of phase out. Yeah. I have been very fortunate and blessed in my dating career
whether it's been like high school or my fiance or, you know, the guys that I have dated, you know, recently, the chemistry has been there from day one. And then, you know, through the chemistry that I had with them, it was the everyday talking on the phone and hanging out with them and having these experiences that built the connection.
Right.
So that's for me, like Tessa gave me like this aha moment, but I was like, oh, that's why I don't have anything to say really, is because I've had both.
Yes. And I think that is such a good point too, because the connection comes later, right? It's chemistry, then consistency, then connection, and then the commitment. You can't get to connection or commitment without time. It's just impossible. Like, the chemistry can only sustain you for so long. And this is just a PSA for anyone out there. If you are constantly having to go backwards in your relationship and pull from what happened earlier on to sustain what you're doing, it's probably not right, because you can't force the connection. You can't force the commitment. And I also think there is something to be said about the initial chemistry phase. If they are being consistent, believe them. If they're like, you're my favorite person to talk to now, if they're calling you in the morning, you're the first thing they do in the morning, the first thing they do at night, right? And then call. But it could be not too, like, who knows, to you, because that's what I want. The point is, right? Believe them, but don't go backwards. If they're telling you they're your favorite person today and the next day they're telling you they can't do it, believe them. I think the realization that I came to is I am always trying to find the love. And I think that, unfortunately, Hollywood really fucked our generation, because we grew up on all these like love stories and they show people fighting for each other, but they never show you what happens after. And I think that, you know, we talked about Pretty Woman on one of our episodes. Like, come on, guys. Like, that does happen, though. And I think,
well, that's the exception to the rule, right? There's always exceptions to the rule.
Right. And I also think that every person gets to be the exception at some point, but don't settle for the rule. You have to keep going until you're the exception.
Yeah. And I think also when you said in a past episode that you are a fairy tale girl.
Yeah.
You put the fairy tale in your head, and I think that the fairy tale is spawned on by the connection you first feel.
Right.
And I know this because, I mean, every girl does it.
Yeah.
If we really like you and we have the chemistry with you, we are like, oh my God, could I marry him? Could he be?
Yeah.
Like, we just do it. Like,
yeah.
That's just our species. We just do it. But to your point, like, you actually realize that you do it.
Yeah.
And you're like trying to be more honest with yourself, and the whole love bombing is also part of like the chemistry. It's like a dopamine fix. And I realize it, but I also enjoy it.
Right.
Like, I'm not gonna say like, don't love bomb me, guys.
No,
I'm like,
keep going.
Keep going. But until it's consistent and it reaches a certain time frame, and I told you, every 2 months is kind of like, for me, the 2-month mark is really when I put a kibosh on a relationship.
Very true.
Like, if we're not aligned in 2 months, or, you know, communication's failing at 2 months, or it just fizzles out, like, I really have to put a stop to it.
100%. And I think, to your point, right, and to what I was saying earlier, like, believe them, feel the feeling, because one day you're going to look back and it's going to be 10 years with that person. You're going to be really happy that you enjoyed that chemistry in the beginning. Like, we're not jaded in any capacity. Like, we have our moments, don't get us wrong. But for the most...
I was jaded. I was, but now I'm not. I'm working on it.
There's just this part of me, right, that in my 20s, I was a savage, right? Straight savage, right? I want to be softer now. But this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to give you soft. The minute that you become wavering in any capacity, right? That chemistry reaches its moment and you're just not on the same page with me anymore, that savage is coming back out. And by that, I mean, you're done. Like, I am not going to ask anyone anymore to try to prove to them that I'm worth it, because I know I'm worth it.
Yeah.
I'm just not worth it to them. And that's just not an argument I'm willing to have anymore. You say bye, I'm walking in the other direction. That's it. Like, we're done.
I think, so when it comes to like the savage moment, I'm really good at this.
You are.
But there are times when I have to remind myself who I am, because I give and I give and I give and I give, and like, I love that about me. Like, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
Contrary to some
I'm both.
exes might believe or say. But, you know, a while ago, I met this guy. We're going to call him Gemini. Yeah.
It was spicy.
Yeah, it was great. The chemistry was just fire. That's all I have to say about that. I had literally energy withdrawals. I can't explain it other than like, it was so intense. It was just intense. And then we didn't see each other anymore. And I literally going through energy withdrawals because of the feeling that I had when I was with him. It was just beyond. After that, I realized, Jules, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you need to realize who you are. You're a savage. You're a fucking beast.
Yeah.
So this is what I did. This is how I snap out of it. I play Lizzo, Truth Hurts.
Yes.
Because I need to realize that I'm 100% that bitch, even when I'm crying crazy and I got boy problems.
Ooh.
I put it on repeat, and Cardi B also helps me. And Megan Lee
Yeah. She gets me.
Like, there are certain songs and certain artists where I am just jamming out because I need to realize, like, yeah, there are people that go into your life for a second, for a month, for a year, whatever. But you always have to come back to yourself.
Always.
Always have, like, that is like ground zero. And if you don't love yourself and you don't realize the power and the authenticity and the truth that you have within yourself, you're not going to be able to go forward into any relationship. And Sex and the City is by far one of my favorite shows and movie series. But Samantha, she lives this every single day. And when she broke up with Jared, the one line was, I love you, but I love me more. And she wasn't going to go further into a relationship knowing she was losing herself.
Right.
And when it comes to also my 13-year relationship, I lost myself completely, to the point where I was a shell of a human, just like you were with Eunuch. But you had it, thankfully, for 8 months. Mine was like the last 2 years of that relationship. But I had to make the hardest decision of my life, by far. And everyone probably thought I wasn't going to ever leave because I was younger and, you know, whatever the capacity, that was just like the consensus on the streets. It was like, I'm just never going to leave. But I did. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I found myself after the relationship of like who you are just by yourself.
Yeah.
And then you search for that chemistry all over again. And it's like a fucking tornado. It's like you go through these. I'm like, oh, it's a But I do want to be swept off my feet. I do want that fire in my belly. I do want it. Now, sometimes it comes in very toxic packages. It does. Like Gemini was probably, you know, toxic. But and it didn't last that long. It was fire, and it was like energy that I love and you get addicted to. And I will say this, when you get addicted to, stigmatized. Totally, it's a thing. But when you do get addicted to the energy that someone brings, you also have to realize that you are 50% of that energy.
So I have so many things that I need to like continue with what you said. First thing is, we talk about this all the time, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. If you are with somebody for them to fill something in your life, you will never be happy. You have to make sure that you are approaching a relationship, not filling any voids in your life, to what you said earlier, right? Like, we know our value. If you feel like you can't leave somebody because they're doing something for you, you shouldn't be in a relationship. Now, it's different if you meet somebody and you're growing and you're working through things together. Like, I don't really believe that you have to be 100% healed, because we're never going to be 100% healed. You're going to have to go through trial or tribulation with your partner, right? Second thing, crazy, right? The crazy. Chemistry makes people crazy. And this is another PSA, because I have a lot of them today. If you're going to tell somebody that they are the one for you, or tell them that on day one, or tell them that you want to have dinner with them every night, and all of these fairy tale things, and then they lose their mind a little bit because you say an hour and a half is too far of a drive the next day, crazy is acceptable. Okay, I'm just had to.
I do. So obviously, you guys know like the crazy scale. My brother
got excited on that.
My brother mentioned the crazy scale on the last episode of like, if the girl is hot and single, she's probably crazy. If the girl is hot and crazy, she's probably single. And like everyone's seen it and heard it, whatever. But there are certain people that bring certain things out of you that's not good, or maybe they bring the best out of you. But crazy's a little bit warranted when you just do crazy shit.
Right.
Like, if you treat me a certain way, I'm going to react a certain way. Now, I have worked my ass off on this a lot because I'm Italian, and my rage, I'm very plateaued, right? I am very calm until I'm not calm.
Mm-hmm.
But even now, my not calm, Jules, is significantly better, and the way I communicate is better because of another relationship that I had in my life that I learned the healthy way of conflict resolution, not screaming and hollering and throwing shit.
Oh, so, that's not appropriate?
No.
Oh.
I mean,
whoops. I'm kidding. I don't do that.
No. I did this once in my life. I was shooting a movie in LA, not a Porto.
Or was it?
No, it wasn't. I died in like the first 5 minutes. But I had to like yell and scream like as if I was dying forever. Like it was like take after take after take. After that, it felt so good. I just released all of this like hurt and hate and anguish. And I also take a hanger to my pillow and whack it. I can't whack anymore.
No more wire hangers.
No, but like that's a good like getting it all out. You know, like you know, you have to get your energy out, and it's better not to be to a person, and then you can talk. We got off track because
wow, she went on a tangent. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, it's
I'm not sure what that noise just was that came out of my mouth. Okay. I love that you just did that, because I think there's something to be said about a woman who is experiencing rage, because you can't feed these ideas that you have this future in mind with somebody. And this goes for men and women. Like women do the same thing. And then abruptly say, never mind, and then expect them the next day to just be able to dissipate all of those feelings and emotions.
I have a question though, and I wish there was a guy sitting next to me. But what do they think is going to happen? Like, what is like, guys, if you are out there, what is your main goal in like
saying all this
saying
stuff.
this stuff to us? Like, do you want us to fall
actually.
in love with you and then like ghost us? And like, I mean, I've never been ghosted. God help you.
Yes,
because
it's
you're
true.
a real ghost. like, what is their agenda? Do you want the chemistry and not the connection? Do you like, you know,
Like, what's the point of saying all of it?
Yeah.
Because when I say things, I mean them.
yes,
And I think that's part of the realization that I came to is my friends, immediately when we met, we were like, well, I may have like forced myself
more in love
on it.
with me than I was with her.
This is true. This is
But
now
now
she loved me.
I loved you, but you
I
were-
was like the only person she ever loved immediately. FYI.
But she was obsessed.
This bitch. Oh, I love her. Okay, this bitch isn't like anybody. Okay, me on the other hand, I could talk to a tree and have chemistry. That's just who I am. So again, when I'm thinking about all these wonderful things that these people said to me, it's because of me. Like I
You
am.
believe them because it's true. You're
It is. I'm magnetic. Like I'm amazing. You think I'm the one for you? Like I say, you're so sus to me. Like I just. But like basically, I've been proposed to by every man, just no ring, and I just like moved to different states when it was over. That's what I used to do. I don't do that anymore. But
Yeah.
I think there's really something to be said though when you are in the chemistry phase. Enjoy it. But if you be soft, like be a soft woman, let them take care of you. Let them carry your suitcase. Let them cook you dinner. Let them tell you you're beautiful and enjoy it and just keep it going. And if it continues to be consistent, and if it's not, be the savage that you know how to be. Like if they're telling you they do not want to be with you, you have to remove yourself and know if you don't want to be with me, somebody else does. We've talked about this.
Yes.
Like, if it's going to take me 10 guys to get there, great. Like, I had a shit storm last year with 3 different guys. You know, I like to believe that number 4 is going to be the guy who makes me feel calm and makes me feel safe. But I also have to calm myself down. I also have to make myself feel safe because that's part of vulnerability. Like you have to do it for yourself so that you can bring it into the relationship. And that's really something that I'm working on right now. Like we need somebody to appreciate us. And we're a lot in all the best ways. Like we love wholeheartedly. Like I will stand by my person no matter what and support them. And I expect the same. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that expectation. And don't ever lower your standards to be the rule. Always, always wait for the exception.
I want to add to the chemistry because you said chemistry phase, and I don't necessarily agree with you.
If it fades because it was just chemistry, because I think it actually gets bigger. Oh, look at me cutting her off.
Before it leave my room.
Go.
So when you say chemistry phase, I don't necessarily agree with it because it should never be a phase, like a time it just stops and then you have connection.
No.
Because I want chemistry
Throughout,
the whole relationship.
Well, you have to. It doesn't go away. Like
yes, it does. But this is the thing. When you get into this roommate phase, and I have been there, and it's a very sad and lonely place to be in a relationship. And my ex always used to say, like, we're roommates.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to believe him. And it was true. Like, we had this great chemistry in terms of like he was saying things. We just had fun with each other when we had fun. And we would love to go out and all that stuff. But when it came to the bedroom and the living situation, the chemistry just was not there. But we had everything else.
Yeah.
And that was that's probably why it was really hard to leave. It was just like, wow, it's not bad. Like, we're good at everything else but this. But you can't have a relationship and not have a sexual chemistry in the bedroom. You just can't. I mean, if you want the roommate situation, great. Do it, whatever. If you're okay with it. I'm just not. I'm never, and you can't, nobody hopes for that, right? It just kind of happens through time, and it's like a slow burn, and then you wake up and you're like, how did I get here? Right. And you try to fix it and go to therapy and everything. And sometimes it's just, you can't make something happen. Right. And I couldn't fake it. And he couldn't fake it. So there's that. And you always want, and I said this in a past relationship or a past episode, it's work. You have to show up and do the work. Sometimes the work is not enough. And it's unfortunate. But we always are striving for that connection because we obviously want it. Mm-hmm. We need it in the relationship. But to your point, if you're not showing up every day to have that commitment to somebody, to build that lasting connection, then what is it? It's just a fucking hookup.
Well, and I think too, the chemistry
is glorified a situation.
Oh, is that what that is?
A situationship.
Well, I think too, when you are with a partner for so long, so the great thing about my life is I have some really, really strong examples of partnerships with my friends. And one of my girlfriends, Chicago-based girlfriend, obsessed with her.
Do you see her shirt right now?
Oh, yeah. And cubs, so with that. But her and her partner, I would argue to say, is probably one of the strongest relationships that I've seen. And one thing that they did, which I thought was like very enlightening, is they started to go to a couples therapist, not because they were having problems, but because they wanted to deepen their connection. They wanted, they wanted to be better communicators. And trust me, like before they started doing this, they're the couple that you look at and you're just like, ugh, she's going to kill me for saying this, but I have to because it's like literally the best thing ever. They don't pour their own drinks. He always pours her wine, and she always makes his old fashioned. And sometimes, for a little fundy, she puts her nipple on the old fashioned. And I think about that, and I'm like, I want that.
You always have to keep it spicy.
Yes. And they do. And like what I'm trying to say here is, a lot of my friends that are super strong partners, they were all exceptions starting out. Like I have a couple in my life that she had just moved out from her ex's house, who was terrible, and her now husband was going through a divorce, right? I have other people who started out as affairs and now they're happily married. So my point is, it's like you watch that movie, he's just not that into you.
Groundbreaking,
florals for spring. My whole point in saying this, because I feel like that was kind of a tangent, but they do the same couple in Chicago. They do date nights every Wednesday, and they do not miss it. Everybody knows.
Doesn't that turn into like a job?
No, because they do something that they both love. They either cook at home or they go out to a dinner. The main thing here is every single person in their life knows by 4 p.m. on Wednesday, they are unreachable because it is their time.
I love that.
Their phones are on Do Not Disturb. Like, you're not getting through that barricade. I mean, I have sometimes, but technically I'm part of the relationship.
I probably think if you're calling, like, it's
I might be in jail.
Yeah.
Fair, touche. Well, we'll ask her. Please help me. Yeah. Actually, one time, her husband, like, threw me in the back of his truck because I was having a Vanessa moment. And I was like, hey. He's like, not tonight. But anyway, like, you have to keep the chemistry alive, whatever that means for you. And
but I have another question.
Yeah.
If you have a connection with someone, could you, though I already know the answer, but I want to.
Yeah.
Do you think if you have a connection, like you have all the same great, like, I don't know, things in common, you guys have fun together, you guys talk on the phone, and then like through time you have chemistry, or like you need the chemistry right away? I know my answer, but I mean,
I need to want to fuck you. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like,
The PQs, right?
well, and it's the kiss too. Like, if you kiss me and you take my breath away, like, I have this idea of like,
Yeah.
I saw this movie one time and like, you'll know it's your person because your hand will fit perfectly in theirs when you're walking. And when they kiss you, like, the world stops, right? And it's not about this like up and down emotion. It's about the calm. That's why it stops. It's not like everything else goes out the window and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like, wow. It's just, you feel it in your bones and you just know that they're the person for you. And I think,
Yeah.
that's what it is. But I am definitely a physical person. I work out 7 days a week, very high intensity. I have a drive in multiple areas of my life. So if you can't drive me, get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah, I think for sure, like, when it's there or it's not there, but it is hard when you meet someone and you're just like, we have everything else in common, but like that's the only thing that's like not there. Do you build it? Can you build it? Is it a thing? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's possible.
I'd never.
You can learn to love someone. You can grow into a love. But that love is only a very like a friendship love if you don't have that physical connection.
Listen, sex is a huge, huge cornerstone of relationship. Not lethal.
Nope.
No.
Not
in that. On to the next. Goodbye. You know,
this bubbly's good to my
I feeling all sorts of good right now. I think that there is something to be said about, the look that you said in like Pretty Woman. I have a little bit different of my perfect ideal relationship. And it's the one it's The Gentleman with Matthew McConaughey and his wife. When he tells that man to cut a pound of his flesh off because he fucked with his wife, that's the man I need in my life. Because listen, like, I'm doing the same thing for you, baby. Like, I will fuck somebody up if they fuck with you.
Yeah.
And I need that because I need the protector. I've always been on my own.
When you met me. I'm literally the friend that will hunt you down.
Yeah.
And I have.
She has.
So, yeah.
And I think that's her Italian mob, my Irish mob, we're just, there really is a dungeon somewhere, but you'll never know. The point is, and I said this a lot today, in order to find chemistry or connection or crazy, what do we have to do, Jules?
Carpe diem.
Bitches.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Oh, I did the class on the microphone. I always forget. Oh, that's not the right motion. This is a blooper.
I hope you liked this episode of Karaoke Wine. Please like and subscribe.